Okay, can I have the attention of everyone in the 12 o'clock session, please? We are going to ask everyone in the open sessions whether they want to play in the Festival of Pool on Sunday and Monday. It's the easiest way for us to do the draw is to ask everyone in each session whether they want to play. Everyone is welcome to play. If you say yes and then don't turn up, sadly you will be fined £50 and won't be allowed to enter the tour until you then pay that £50. So if you are playing, please make sure you turn up. The last thing we want to happen is for you to say yes and then you stitch up to other people by then not turning up. So if you are playing, if you are say you're playing, then please turn up. So if you are on the 12 o'clock session, could you please come up and let me know if you are playing and then collect the tablet for your table and then we'll get started. So come up to the top table, let me know if you're going to play in the Festival of Pool in the 3-man team event and collect your tablet. Apologies, we've forgotten about the stream table being in the middle of the numbers of tables. If you're on a table less 9. So Ian Duffy, Spencer Daniels, Neil Kelly, Alex Stevens. If Alex Stevens, Neil Kelly, Spencer Daniels and Ian Duffy could bring their tablets back, please. I'm afraid we just told you the wrong table number. So Ian Duffy, Spencer Daniels, Neil Kelly, Alex Stevens. We'll give you the right tablet. Apologies. Come back up to the top table. Thank you. Okay, I've just loaded the matches onto the tablets. So if you give them a few seconds to connect to the Wi-Fi, you should see your match on the tablet. If you can't see the match on the tablet, please give me a shout. And importantly, if your opponent isn't stood beside you right now, please don't wait for half an hour. Please let the top table know straight away. We will put them on the clock. We will put them on the clock and start locking the frames if they don't turn up.
Good afternoon and welcome everybody. This is event 2 of the World Rules Pool Tour. This is the main event and we get things underway with this game between the current champion, Declan Brennan, who won event 1, and he's playing against Briscoe. Oh, I apologise, I'm a bit out of breath. I've got to tell you that I've literally just arrived. That was a crazy journey. For those of you who don't know, we are in central London, so we're on Edgware Road in the Hilton Metropole. If you're local to us, then come see the action. There's loads of people in the venue, and what a venue it is. We'll get you some pictures of it over the weekend and upload them to social media. there are, I mean, it's an incredible venue. There's 28 tables in this splendid room. It looks absolutely fantastic. And there are crowds of people watching the event. There's people around this main event table. And literally I've just walked in through the door, and this weekend is a who's who of pool. See the lineup for this weekend, it's fantastic. I walked in and saw Gaz Hebbett in the queue in reception. I know that Craig Marsh is playing this weekend. Current world champion John McAllister in action over this weekend. All the big hitters, Steve Petty. Just saw him in the queue. In fact, I was following him around in the car park trying to find a car parking space. I thought he's got no chance of getting his motor into one of those spots.
Table 24, Mark Bowen, Dave Fernandez. On table 25, Gubby Gill, Josh
Trying to get a Lamborghini into a parking space in London, you have no chance.
And finally on table 27, Cleve Thompson, Paul Davies. If your opponent isn't stood right beside you right now, please let the top table know. Apart from that, best of luck to everyone, and start when you can.
So the announcer has now finished, so we can have a bit of peace and quiet and focus on this game. And Lee, well, he's got a great chance. This a race to 7, he needs that. Oh, you could just see him bend his legs in the background, just hoping for the right kiss. You could see
Is Graham de Hamel in the building? Graham de Hamel?
he could have easily lost that. What an event. This is the Festival of Pool. It's on over 4 days. We're here till Monday. We have the main event, we've got the open event, and also we've got a 3-man event. I'm just looking down to my left-hand side and I see Jake McCartney's here for the weekend. So Jake has decamped from Australia over to the UK. Of course, he just won that event up in Stoke-on-Trent a couple of weeks ago and decided to try his arm. Of course, he's a native World Rules player. World Rules is very much the rule set over in Australia, so he'll be very familiar with these rules. And he's just sat over there, just to the left of Declan. In fact, he's sat next to Declan's manager, who's Mark O'Hare. Mark is a George Best lookalike. He runs a lookalike agency over in Ireland. If you ever see a guy walking around that looks like George Best with Declan, then that's Mark. Carl Sutton's just arrived. He's got a fairly tough opening game. He's going to be playing Greg Batten in his opening match. So it's no easy rides through this field. It's littered with talent.
Is Graham de Hamel in the building? Graham de Hamel.
If you want to keep up with any of the scores, of course, as always, qscore.com is your friend. You'll find the event, the full draw, and the updated scores from all the tables.
Cleve Thompson, top table, Cleve Thompson. Tommy Lewis in the building, Tommy Lewis.
So we get our first look at Declan in open play. And what a delightful layout on this table. It's just a matter of connecting the dots.
Is there a Steve McHenry in there? You might have left his shirt, Steve. Steve McHenry.
It's just taking some time over the finish, just simply. It looks a fairly simple finish, but it's just about this red at the top of the table. It looks simple enough, but it causes him a bit of an issue because of the yellow above it. So he needs to try and finish high on that red to come back down table, and it's all about which ball he leaves to get on the black. So now he's got the wrong angle on the ball to the middle. The one to top corner he can play. The problem is, as I mentioned, that yellow, the natural angle, the cue ball's just going to flick that yellow on the way past. So he's just left a slightly wider angle now, and this is a problem because it's all about the traffic. It looks a fairly natural angle to play this with left-hand side to go top cushion, side cushion and across, but it's the traffic of the yellows at the bottom of the table that could cause him a problem. He needs to judge this well. This looks good. Oh, does it? Does it? Where's that cue ball? Wow, just held on. Just held on. I think he had his heart in his mouth just for a second. But got the job done. It was a nice finish in the end. As I say, it looked like one of those that it looks simple, but it just required the right kind of touch around the table, cue ball control. He was never really in a position where he could get that cue ball above or high on that red. Slightly more awkward proposition, of course, when we're playing world rules, when we get this situation with with two opposing balls over one pocket. I think he would dearly like to open his account here with the plant, but it would have to be a three-ball plant. He is going to take it on, and I think it has to be done because it's the key to the frame. So, yeah, that's a good shot. He could just get through to the red. I thought he was going to have to play red onto yellow onto red. Now the issue here is obviously you've got the 4 balls which form a bit of a cluster. That solved that problem. Now he can just play the one closest to the cushion into that pocket. He may... Yeah, I don't think that's going to be his next shot. Just depends on the angle he's got, whether he can get back out or not. The thing that's causing him the problem actually is now the red that's over the pocket. He can't leave it till last because you can't get on the black from that ball. So that's actually causing him a bit of an issue now. And I'm not sure. I guess it now depends on whether this red passes the yellow down the cushion, because he's got the wrong angle. Yeah, he's going to have to play the cut now. This is tricky. This is very missable. He doesn't like it. And it was all about the positional shot a second ago. And as I say, it's the problem that this ball over the bottom right is causing him the issue. He can leave it till last, but he definitely doesn't want to. Yeah, that was a horrible shot. It was always going to be difficult. And there you see, he knew that he couldn't leave that red until last, so he played that red knowing that he would land on his difficult ball and then it would be plain sailing, so he took the harder option.
Just a reminder, the toilets are on the even numbered floors, so including 0, 1, 0, 2 and 4. So unfortunately there isn't a toilet on this floor, so you have to go up the stairs or down the stairs, not too far.
Declan at the table again after that miss from Lee. It's always going to be difficult in this rule set for Lee to have any advantage. With Declan controls the game as long as he's got that ball over the bottom right pocket. Nice shot. Keeps it simple. Maybe in a different rule set, Declan would have been forced into going on the attack there. But as I say, in complete control, as long as he has the red over the pocket. Almost a bit of a desperation shot there. What he was trying to do was just mess up those reds in some way, maybe push one of the reds into that cluster of yellows and try and make it ugly. He knew that it was a bit of a forlorn hope. Nice nudge there from Deck. It just makes this even simpler than it was. Now the red's the right side of the pocket to come across for the black. That's not ideal. That's not ideal at all. Would have liked to have been much straighter. But I think he can just pinch this back across, run across the blue spot. Yeah, that was fine. He could just pinch the angle. And this is going to be 2-1. As mentioned previously, a race to 7. So this is very much a key frame now for Lee. Can't let Declan run away. And what a lovely break. The yellow and red tied up on this bottom rail will probably determine which colour set he goes for. It really depends on whether the red passes below the yellow. If it does, I think he'll go reds, because all the reds are on. Well, you can see from there, I think it does. So I'm gonna say he's gonna go reds here. I think they're just the better ball, just because of that yellow on the very bottom cushion. The one tied up on the cushion. It's more awkward. You probably need to develop it. It probably just passes below the red, but it's just tricky. So I think that red just sneaks past the yellow. And indeed, it's reds that he's going to go for. And it's a fairly natural path. Kind of surprised that he didn't take the one just above the centre line next, only because he's just going to have to come back for it. It felt like one of those clearances where you just work your way down the table. Shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, he's looking carefully to see whether he can get past his red to the yellow, to the red, to bottom left. I don't think he can, and now suddenly this has just gone a little awkward. And this is what I said about this ball at the top of the table. Actually, it may, yeah, don't know, not quite sure about the pattern. I think he just lost his way really early in that clearance. Certainly nothing easy here for Deck. The one saving grace for Lee is that he's pushed these two yellows together at the side of the table. No. Disaster. Well, Some people maybe sat at home thinking what a great 3-ball plant that was, but as you can see, he was laying the snooker. Certainly not trying to make a plant. He's made the pot. Can he get through to this yellow? I think he can, but even if he can, what's he going to do then? He's looking at the angle. Yeah, he really has to power this in with loads of side, top spin. You're going to see the cue ball dance here. Yeah, well, actually, maybe he can get through to it because he's looking at going cushion first. Cush first, pot in the yellow, and sending the cue ball into the red and yellow. So, very high tariff. If this comes off, you could be seeing a contender for shot of the weekend in just our first match. Good attempt. I have to say, as I was driving around the car park, sucking up the exhaust fumes from Steve Petty's car in front of me, I was cursing this venue. But actually, when you walk in here and there's 28 tables in action, it suddenly lifts the spirits. What a great venue for a pool event. 28 tables in one room and they just look splendid. Just trying to do too much. And I don't know how well Declan is not sure what exposure he's had to world rules, but this is clearly a foul snooker. A foul snooker, of course, means that he can nominate his opponent's ball, nominate one of his opponent's balls, or he can pick up the cue ball. Picking up the cue ball would mean it's no longer a foul snooker. So, indeed, he's very conversant with the rules because he knows exactly what he needs to do. You actually have to nominate and point to the ball that you're going to play. So he's got 2 visits, and he's nominating this ball as his free ball, and then just dragging the cue ball, and he's going to play the plant yellow onto yellow along the bottom cushion. Now just needs to be a little bit careful of where the cue ball in yellow lands up. I'm sure he's got it in mind, and that's why you could see how much he decelerated on that shot. I mean, I was saying he had to be careful, but he'd left enough angle there to be able to play the plant and get the cue ball out. But you could actually see his arm decelerate through the shot as he played it. I think he was just conscious that he needed to get through the shot, and it's actually caused his elbow to seize up, decelerated on the shot, and just lost it totally. You could physically see the brakes go on as his arm came through the shot. Of course, he's still carrying 2 shots, so if he can get out of the snooker, he's still favourite to win the frame. But he has to get out of the snooker. So as people are entering the arena, I see Dylan Leary is just over to the left-hand side of the table, keeping his eye on the game. I think He's got out the snooker, but he's not left it.
Is Matthew Barton in the room? Matthew Barton in the room, if you are top table.
Yeah, so obviously got out the snooker. Part one of the exercise complete, but he's left himself nothing. I think he's just playing to drop the cue ball in behind the red. Takes a deft touch. Did he flick the yellow? Yeah, I assume he must have. This is fairly easy for Lee. He can run across the face of the red. Pretty sure it's not touching ball. If it's touching ball, it's even easier. I think he can just run across the face of the red and leave the yellow, leave the cue ball behind. Must be touching ball. Surprised me a little. Maybe because it was touching ball, he couldn't see the side cushion. I thought if it was touching ball, he would have just played off the side cushion and landed in behind those two reds. I think the players just asking each other whether they thought that was a foul or not, and I genuinely don't think Declan knew. But either way, he's left Lee the opportunity that he needed. Oh dear. Oh well, it clearly was a foul, so it's got a second life. So, simple 3-ball clearance to make this 2 frames apiece. What a great camera angle that is. You can see all the tables in action in the background. Look at that. Fantastic. Super. There we are. That's the arena. As you can see, just down to the left of Lee there, the chap I mentioned with the beard, that's Declan's manager, Mark. He's the George Best lookalike. And stood talking to him, that's Dylan Leary, one of the ultimate pool professionals, Northern Irish international. Actually, I think it's fairly local to London. Lives around this area. Anyway, back with the action. Declan to break in frame number 5. A solid connection. He finds the ball and he will be absolutely delighted. Look at the reds. I mean, the beauty of it is there's 4 at one end and 2 the other, and not too difficult a transition between the 2. I guess you could say the only slight problem ball is the one furthest right, which doesn't go to the bottom right pocket, so he just needs to find a different pocket for that, but really shouldn't cause a problem. You can tell from Declan's body language and his face that he just doesn't feel like he's connecting with it at the moment. I don't think he feels that he's queuing through it as he knows he can. He sets himself a very high standard. And of course, he's got high expectations of himself. He's, well, one of the best players around at the moment, isn't he? He's the on-form player. He's just off of the back of that win at Stoke-on-Trent where he won Event 1, coming away with £10,000. Just a demolition in the final as well. In fact, he was pretty much flawless all of that weekend. Played some amazing pool. And of course, mentioned earlier, he's actually the current title holder. He won Event 1 of this very event up in Blackpool just a month or so ago. He really is flying. He's left a lovely angle here just to drift up, hold on the yellow on the side. Lovely. That's a way to solve the problem with a great cue ball. And you can drop this in and run across the face of the black and have, well, he could hold it, just have the black in the same pocket. A nice clearance. They were all there, but it was one of those, again, you've still got to get them. Declan Brennan leads 3 frames to 2. Nice connection from Lee. Decent split. Just left a couple of problem areas. I think probably yellows, if the 2 yellows plant to middle. I'm not sure if they do. I think they're just, yeah, that's a trickier shot than it looks. They're set to about 3 or 4 inches above the right middle pocket. I think probably still yellows are the choice. I wonder if the outside of those yellows pots to the top right past the red. If it does, that opens up the pocket for the other one into the right middle. Or he's got the angle to split them up. That's the other way to do it. A little bit frustrated with those 2 yellows converging together nearest to this bottom rail. run into trouble, run aground. Would have been okay if it wasn't for the red coming back into the path. But now he doesn't have any open pot. Just looking now at this very, very tricky plant. Play the first red to clip the second one thin and pot it back into the bottom left pocket, but again, very high tariff. What he's thinking about that shot, let's just do a quick virtual tour around the other tables. Tyler Hunt currently leading Alex Stevens 3-2. Neil Randall 4-0 up against Graham Duhamel. Neil Raybone 4-1 up against Joe Hayward. Neil Kelly beating Daniel Singh 4-1. Wade Morley currently 4-0 up against Ian Duffy. Wade messaged me last week and said that he had a tough opening game, but having no problems at the moment at 4-0. Chris Dyson and Andy Jones 3 each. Jasper Simmons is currently playing JJ Fall and is 3-2 up against JJ. I can look across at the table now. Jasper's currently at the table as well in the clearance, so looking like 4-2. Connor Tracy 3-2 up against Gary Southern. Enrico Forgione 3-1 against Matt Cook. Glenn Whitmore 6-1 up against Andrew Lister, needing one more frame. Jimmy Croxton looking down the barrel at the Taunton man, Dan Chanter, beating Jimmy Croxton 4-0. Dave Fernandez, the England international, is currently trading 3-2 against Mark Bowen. Haven't seen Mark Bowen in action for a long time. Good to see him back at the table. Govey Gill playing Josh Corkett. Colin Cooper in action against Christian Disney, 3-1 up. And finally, Cleve Thompson is 2-1 up against Paul Davis.
If anyone does want a rest or a spoiler, there are some distributed around the room, mainly down the centre aisle and also by the stream table. If you do want a rest or a spoiler, they are available.
Seeing that score with Dan Chanter against Jimmy Croxton. Jimmy Croxton always one of the favourites in the field. Of course, local to Stoke-on-Trent. One of the ultimate pool professionals. And Dan, yeah, 4-0 up. No surprise, really. I mean, Dan is a classy player, but that's a big score. And, of course, Dan almost pulled off a big result against Tom Cousins in event 1, where he was actually leading that game and walked away very disappointed that he didn't hammer it home. Talking about Stoke-on-Trent, I see another Stoke-on-Trent man just turned up to the left-hand side of the arena, Liam White. Another player that's local to Players Lounge. Deck taking the advantage from Lee's mistake, and that was a frame that, well, it was a decent chance for Lee to level things there after that break. But it went awry, and Declan is that now leads by 2 frames. He's 4 frames to 2 ahead. I think that works pretty well. Controlled it well, just pushed that awkward yellow to one side, and it's pretty much opened up the table. I'm not going to say it's a foregone conclusion because it's still awkward, but this man at the table, it's very possible. Looks like he's got a decent angle now just to pop this to bottom right and just weave the cue ball off the bottom cushion back through the gap of the 2 yellows to bring it back up maybe just to the left of the blue spot, somewhere on that line. Uncharacteristic miss. Wouldn't have expected that from Declan, but just needed to swerve it slightly, so it's cost him the shot. And a very much needed frame for Lee. Just trying to get himself 2 shots. I don't think he's going to do it with a 1 cushion escape. shouldn't be any rush here for Lee. He's got complete control of the table. He just doesn't need to give Declan any opportunity. So he doesn't want to wait too long before he pulls the trigger. But he doesn't need to be reckless. If the yellow on the top cushion goes above the red, which I think it does, then this may be a decent opportunity to go for them. I don't think he is. Just going to run off the face and come down table. As I say, doesn't want to give Declan a chance, and he has. His hand procuring, but it's given him a shot in open play. Deck can get to the back of the cue ball, so I fancy him for this. It just felt at 2 frames behind against a player of Declan Brennan's quality that Lee should have been maybe just trying to pull the trigger there. And indeed, sometimes you have to take your chances when you get them. I know it was awkward, but he had an opener and they were all there. So, as I say, sometimes I think you just have to take the ball by the horns and take your chances. Now extends the lead to 3 frames, and it's 5-2. Lee's going to break in the next. Crunch. Park the cue ball in the middle of the table. And when you've been struggling a bit and you need a decent chance, this is it. Going to be forced into playing yellows, I think. I mean, reds are there, but they're much more awkward. The red to the right hand side of the black being one of the nasty ones. I think he got into that a little bit more than he expected, but again, just a bit closer to the work than you'd like to be. Now having to come back down table because of that. He's going to leave that one lonely red, one lonely yellow at the top of the table. Is that going to cause him a problem later in the frame? It may well, you know. It shouldn't, but it's one of those that it just could. The transition from that yellow back down the table. Just looking down to my right-hand side, I see Shane Thompson talking to Lee Washbrook. That's like some kind of circus act. It's like something out of a freak show, that. Oh dear. Look at that. Hey? And the other thing I mentioned a second ago was I mentioned Mark, Declan's boss, Declan's manager, who is actually a George Best lookalike, and I mentioned that he runs a lookalike agency. Have a look at the guy next to him in a second. If we can get a camera across there in a minute, we got a Prince Harry lookalike over there. He's pointing at me because he wants me to take over. He wants me to do a Walter White lookalike. We'll see if we can get a camera across there in a second for you, and you'll see what I mean. So Prince Harry's come for the weekend. Give us a wave. There you go, a little wave from Prince Harry. Oh, fantastic. I think he's thinking about signing up Shane Thompson as Oliver Hardy lookalike. And then Stan Laurel sat just in front of him with Carl Sutton. Just ran out of position again. He's shaking his head. It's absolutely fine. But it's just because he's having a queue over the black, it just makes it a little bit trickier. Fully expecting to get it. Yeah, it just drops it in dead weight. To put him on the hill and to get through to the second round. Declan Brennan pots the black and he now leads 6 frames to 2. Finds the ball and doesn't want to attack from here. He can nominate yellows and be on yellows and just take control of the frame, which is exactly what he's done. And I've just managed to catch up with the YouTube comments. So good to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And shout out to Commodore Patanga and sat at home with COVID. Really sorry to hear that, my friend, and hope you are recovering well. Hope you get better soon, my friend. And all our wishes are with you. And we hope you enjoy the pool over the weekend. Nothing more you can do, eh? Just enjoy the pool, and hopefully it makes you feel a bit better over the weekend. And it should be fantastic. Just an absolute feast of pool this weekend. Starting today with this main event. The Open starts tomorrow morning. The 3-man starts on Sunday. Really looking forward to the 3-man, actually. That's a blind 3-man. So can you imagine? There's over 200 players here this weekend, and it's a blind draw. So everyone goes in the hat and they just pull out 3 names. So you could literally end up with, Declan Brennan, Marshy, and Tom Cousins. Or you could, it's going to throw up some amazing teams. I'm really looking forward to that. I think also in the field this week, I know pretty sure that Clint Aronson is here this weekend. We already mentioned Greg Batten and Carl Sutton. Their game starts at 1:30. Gaz Hibbert's here this weekend. I saw him earlier. In fact, they had a blinder because they travel all the way down. I think they're just up above Stoke-on-Trent, like right at the top of the Midlands up there somewhere. And said that Viv got up this morning and realised that her MOT had run out of date, so they couldn't drive. So they had a look at the trains, and they managed to get train tickets, return train for both of them, for 90 quid to come all the way down to London. So they've had a right royal result, because the parking's a nightmare. I'm paying £25 a day for parking here. It's just they got their train tickets cheaper than my parking. And I haven't got the absolute nightmare of trying to drive around central London. That's good. Looks perfect. We can just play the little cutback double. Hold the cue ball. Probably just, I say perfect, it's probably just an inch or two above perfect. But he can stand down onto the reds if he wants to hold the cue ball. He could hold it anyway. Absolutely fine. So just putting the seal of approval on this match. And it's going to be Declan Brennan who goes through into round 2 of the main event, and he will be, well, he'll be a massive feature in this event all the way through. You can imagine, as long as he's in the field as the reigning champion, you can see him just give a high five to Mark, his manager. And the crowds are just building to the left-hand side. You can see people just arriving. They're arriving throughout the day. I don't know where they're parking. There's no parking spaces at the hotel. I can tell you that much. We're going to get downstairs for a quick chat with Declan. We're going to interview him and get his thoughts on that game. So we'll see you down in the interview room in just a couple of minutes. So I'm joined by Declan Brennan. So opening game, what are your thoughts? I mean, you've been on fire recently.
I've been playing well, but it doesn't obviously it's still because I won the last event, so I'm trying that bit harder just to get through the first round anyway. And get my phone to feel like this event now, you know. The first event's pretty up about, so I'm just trying to go again.
And I mean, I say you're on fire. You're on an absolute roll. You've just come off the back of the event with Stoke-on-Trent at the moment. I mean, where's this form coming from?
Just practice and playing well and just believing in myself. That's really it. Yeah.
Was it lockdown? Do you think that helped? Because you played a lot in that lockdown. The lockdown matches.
I don't think so. No, I think my game was there before lockdown. Obviously, I was playing practice in lockdown. But no, I was playing well before lockdown. It was never really to do with lockdown. I started playing well the week. So.
What do you think of this venue?
Great. Tables are fantastic, and this is honestly the setup absolutely first class. It's as good as I've seen, to be honest with you.
Early doors in that match, you just seemed to be struggling with the pace of the table a little bit.
Yeah.
Decelerated on a couple of shots. Is that just trying to settle yourself?
Yeah, it's like every venue you go to. If you haven't got a practice on the table around, you are sort of going in blind how it's going to react and stuff. So it did catch me out a wee bit, and luckily enough, I managed to go over the line. So improve for the next game.
Back-to-back events.
Well, see what happens.
You're looking to forward to the three-man as well.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I've never played in anything like that. It's just a random draw, so
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to throw up some really good, trios.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, my team wins anyway. That's all that matters.
Well, it's for another great weekend this weekend. Hope you enjoy it, and best of luck for the rest of the weekend. Cheers, Deck.
Is Steve Petty and Jake McCartney in the room? Steve Petty, Jake McCartney, give us a wave. Is Steve Petty in the room? Steve Petty in the room, give us a wave.